What's up? What's up? What's up? So, man, saw Mortal Kombat. That was good. That was entertaining. It was much better than Annihilation. It was much better than that movie. Much better. Although there's something to there's a cheesiness to Annihilation that you can appreciate years later. After when you watch it so many times, you're just like, ah. But when you're a kid, because I saw it in theaters as a kid, and I was like, man, these look just like the characters in the game. But then you get older and you start paying attention to stories, and you're like, wow, if only I could be a kid again. There's a part of you that's like, yes, I got the kid side of you that's like satisfied, but you got to keep that inner kid alive. You got to keep that inner kid alive. But there's a side of you who's like, man, I appreciate this. In this movie, there's a lot to appreciate that I did. Like there's that Easter egg hunt that you're like, you know what I mean? When you're just like you're familiar with the content, so you're looking for things that just reference it, and that gets you to like in your soul, you're like, ha, that's it. There it is. I know that. I get that. I mess with that, and that's in there. That's really in there. It's really in there. For a few of them, like Kung Lao does it. That's all he's there for. Kung Lao just makes a bunch of references, and he also fights. And he's Kung Lao. Like, he does cool shit. With the Yankee fitted, it's nice. It's real nice. But man, I like the characters and the casting. Like everyone kind of looked like who they wanted to look like. It was good, It was nice to be reintroduced to a cast. That was the big problem for Annihilation. You didn't know who the motherfuckers was. Outside of Lou, he was like, who were they? Yo, that's not them. That's not them. It was terrible. That's what made it kind of bad. So you're watching it and you're like, they really swerved us here. And these are just new guys. So they knew it was bad, so they didn't come back. But Liu Kang did. I did like that Liu Kang more because I felt like he got more character to show. That's for sure. But in this movie, they do good callbacks. I appreciated them. There was no uppercut. There was no whoopsie in there. There was none of that. Although I wish that was in there. Now that I say it, because I'm like that would have been cool to sneak in there. Just someone getting the mean uppercut. That would have been all of me would have just like had an out of body experience. You're like, ha, ha, ha. And then it would have been culminated into that little laugh right there. And it's been like, that's about it. Yeah, that's about it right there. So, yeah, I really appreciated that part of the movie. Action wise, the fight scenes were, some were better than others. And I think I'm like, some didn't use too many camera cuts and some did. And you're like, man, that's, yeah, yeah. There are certain editing choices I wish were made better, for sure. I was like, some of these were really good. Like the Sub-Zero Scorpion fight was nice. The fight in the gym, like even like his homie doing the takedowns, like Cole Anthony, him doing his takedowns and stuff. Like those were nice shots. I appreciated those. I'm like, these are nice. These are good. But certain parts of your fight, you're just like, ah. So I don't know. Overall, I think this movie for me was like it's like you ever take a bite of food and there's certain parts where the spices all mixed together, and it's like, this is really good. I got all the bits here, and then there's those other bites you take where like not everything is there, and you're just like, yeah, it's not the same. It'll do, but it's not the same. You're just waiting for that bite. You get the good stuff in, and you keep like you eat the right way so you get everything you want in that bite. Got to plan accordingly. Serious stuff. It's like when there's not a lot of meatballs, but you got a lot of spaghetti to work with. You're trying to get as much meatball in every bite as possible. Or like you're eating a casserole and you want the meat as well. No pause. But you're like, yeah, you know what I'm saying. I'm not gonna keep going with that. But that was this movie. That was Mortal Kombat. It was a very well seasoned dish. It's like, I always appreciate it. And I appreciated it. But, yeah. So I liked it there. The acting, of course, you're not there for acting. You're there for these people fighting. You're there for some vile shit happening. You're there for that because that inner person in you is just like, wow, that's crazy. They really did it. They did it. Here it is. That is wild. That shit is silly. And you're like, this is crazy. This is crazy. I'm just watching this happen right now. But definitely did appreciate certain picks they chose, like Kung Lao doing his little buzz saw, this table saw fatality. That's always great. You're like, that's wild. That's just a hat. That is a hat. My man wears this on a rainy day. That's very utility. That's a lot of utility in a hat when you think about it. Like you never always have a defense system. Like nothing can go wrong because you got a deadly hat. And it's stylish. You can wear it with anything. You can carry you can carry stuff in it. You always have a bowl. You gotta make sure you wash it out. But yeah, it's stylish. It's nice. It's a nice hat. But yeah, Liu Kang's good in it. I wish the movie focused on him and that following Cole was like, he's pretty generic outside of his like fight scenes where he like shows a little bit of something, but he's pretty generic outside of that. I don't know if that's like a dialogue or just dialogue issue because it's just the writing is just like none of this stuff has no pep to it. There's no pep sense of just like pep and that cheesiness. Like the first one, like '95 one, that one there was a pep to it. Like these characters were there's a I don't know. There's just a feeling to it that I really enjoyed in comparison to this one that doesn't have that pep, the charisma that the charisma the other one had. Because as shitty as that one was, there was a charisma to each of the characters, and they all, you know, they all seem different for the most part. These ones, I don't know, pretty standard, pretty just generic now. Maybe I just seen too many action movies, so I don't know. It's just that ragtag team come together movie. These people don't know each other, but you don't get to really know them as characters either. And you're like, but they do good with their references. Like I liked how everyone looked. I liked how everyone looked. That's for sure. Liu Kang looked good. Like they looked, okay, kind of look like Edward Scissorhands when he pops up, like Johnny Depp, like young Johnny Depp when he's in Edward Scissorhands. They look. I was just like, man, if he had some shot fireballs and scissors for hands. That's crazy. That's a combo you're not ready for. Imagine that. It's the scissors, but they're on fire. You're like, whew, that's hot. But has a mean barbecue every 4th of July. So you always go. But I really enjoyed who he was, but he didn't get to show a lot either, which is kind of like annoying. Because I was like, he was kind of cool because that dinner scene he has when he gets to like when he's making fun of old boy, when he's making fun of Kano, who's hilarious in this movie. When he's making fun of Kano, you're like, this guy, there he is. Now he's got some wits about him. He's not just like the serious. Oh, he's serious all the time. You know what I mean? Because you don't want this movie to take itself too seriously. And you're just like, there's some points where you're just like, man, yeah. Okay, whatever. But yeah, that fell. That wasn't supposed to happen. Maybe it'll fall again. Maybe it won't. Maybe it won't. It'll keep going. Whatever. So yeah. Where was I at? So anywho, yeah, he's making fun of Kano, and I was like, I like that scene. That was funny. I was like, this guy's talking. He's talking that stuff. You know, there's no good fighting game without some good trash talk. And even the Liu Kangs, the good old boys, they talk trash a little differently. It's more modest. It's more tone, but it's just as jabby. That's how good it was. So I really appreciate it. Kung Lao. Kung Lao was Kung Lao. I like Kung Lao. I like the casting there. He was kind of cool. But he's not in it as long. Hopefully he comes back somehow. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah. So I enjoyed it for that aspect. Like the hardcore fan of me that like gets the story of like Mortal Kombat for the most part, you know? It's like one of those it's really relatively simple, and they don't use the tournament in this movie at all, which what I want. But they do force it at the end. But it's like, it just doesn't have that tournament feeling, that Enter the Dragon feeling that MK in the first one had. You're just like, where's the tournament? Where's everybody? All the ragtag fighters, the feast, the buffet fight. Like that stuff is just like, this is terrible. This is cheesy. This is stupid. But this is fun. This is like a modern action movie though. Not so much your like 90s, like big typical action movie, you know? So, for what it is now, there is this scene where she's talking about like Sonya Blade comes on the scene and she's showing off, like, she's talking about the tournament. And she shows like the markings that's on the wall and it says Mortal Kombat, and I'm like, that's the that is the most childish shit. They got the letters backward, and I'm like, man, who thought that was like eerie? It doesn't even. It's just like a child wrote this on a wall. Like, come on, that is like knee height in a cave somewhere. Like, nah, I didn't like that. That was funny though, but I was just like, that's just some clown stuff. So that was just funny. But yeah, I think watching this from like a fan standpoint, so like basically in MK1, like the game wise, they have a tournament. Shang Tsung organizes it. They all come to fight on it. Shang Tsung's, his island, his hotspot. This is beach getaway. He loses. Shang Tsung goes back to Outworld. Shao Kahn's about to kill, and then that's the end of MK1 the game, right? Then MK2, Shao Kahn's about to kill Shang Tsung. Shang Tsung snakes his way out using that slick tongue of his, and he's like, yeah, we'll challenge him in Mortal Kombat, but we'll host it on Outworld, and that way you can fight him, because that's Shao Kahn. That's the boy with the hammer, my boy with the hammer, and he's like, okay, here we go. So they do that, and they have the tournament in Outworld. Take the L again, because our mighty heroes on Earth can't be stopped. And then, in an effort to invade Earth realm, right? He just basically that's what he does. That's what he does. He just takes it. He just invades. He invades Earth realm, and he does so in the name of trying to rescue his resurrected wife. That's her queen. That's Sindel. I guess it's his wife too. But yeah, there's that, and that's what he uses, and that's like the catalyst for getting him to do that, and he takes over. So that's where like more Outworld people come from. But I think like lore wise, there's like choices like writing wise, like the writer. Yeah, I like to fancy myself a pretentious ass writer. You like to like theory craft and be like, yeah, I didn't like that. It's a very simple story. So there's parts, and they talk about the realms, which they never like do in the first three movies. Like they talk about uh, Outworld and Earth realm, and then there's also Nether realm, which is where like Scorpion and all the dead folks go, pretty much. And then there's Edenia, which is where the dead good people go. Eden, Nether realm, Nethers, the underwear zone, underwear, under there. But yeah, so and there's Chaos realm and the Order realm. I don't know. That comes up randomly in the 3D Mortal Kombat's. If you played those, which aren't bad games, but it's definitely a different kind of Mortal Kombat. But the story was make more sense there, because you're playing it and you get to fight while you're doing it, and you're running around the RPG scene. You're like, yeah, this is me hustling and grinding away for these MK combat coins, sitting and meditating to make the chest appear out of nowhere, and you're like, this is how I unlock characters in this game. That was crazy, but come a long way. Now you don't have to memorize combos and write them, or memorize fatalities and write them on a piece of paper anymore. We don't do that anymore. Now you just pull it up on your phone. It's not the same hunt, keeping them in a little journal with your Grand Theft Auto cheat codes and whatnot. That feeling's it's all different now. It's all different now. But yeah, as a movie, it was entertaining for that. Really entertaining for that. But like, as like one of those hardcore enthusiasts, everything's bad when you're hardcore anything. You're never satisfied with anything. So you're just like, they could have just done this, because there's elements there, and you're like, I really like it. And hopefully, like the sequels and stuff expand better on what they set up here. They put it all together, and it's best served. But I did enjoy it, so I gave it about 2 stars out of 5. Soundtrack, man. I'll say this: the '95 one, that movie matches the soundtrack. It matches the Mortal Kombat song, and since they don't really use the Mortal Kombat song, I want to say copyright reasons, they don't really use it. Because every fight scene, everyone's fight. That shit just starts going crazy. And you're like, man, this is the most ridiculous thing in the world, but I'm here for it. I'm very much here for it. But in this one, you're just like, some of it's just very, very bland. You're like, the music is part of the fun. And it doesn't help that the song's not really in there. It's in there, but it's like only the first few chords, and it's like three like orchestra, and there's like a remix version. It's not bad, but it's not the first. And change ain't always good sometimes. You're just like, man, the other one's just too good. Hard to live up to something that was like so good the first time out. You're just like, I don't know if the next one will be the same. And for me, it was. And if you liked it, cool, that's fine. I liked those first few chords when they sneak it in there, but then it's just like they kind of keep doing it, and you're like, that's not the same. It's just not the same for me. But yeah, definitely like the Easter egg hunt there for sure. So yeah, again, 2 out of 5. Definitely, it's worth a watch. And I'd watch it again. I put it on in the background for something because it's got some okay fight scenes. Some of them aren't as good as the others, but I did like the Sub Zero and the Scorpion opening. I didn't think they'd go with that for sure. That's a whole like timeline. They don't really touch on that at all in the '95 version. So basically around that is cool. I do wish like Scorpion was kind of in there more. That'd have been cool, like explaining like where the hell have you been? Where have you been? Like Sub Zero's been going around terrorizing folks, and the way they use Sub Zero, that's like my favorite character in the game. And the way they use this man, like Michael Myers, and the way they like have him just show up on the scene, you're like, yeah, this man's about to do something gnarly, and he does from the first scene into the movie. You're like, damn, this guy is terrible. I like the actor they used for him, but yeah, Sub Zero's he's cool in that, and he's cool in this. He's really cool in this. Kano, coming back to him. Kano did a good job. I liked him. He was funny. Him, he was gritty. He was grimy on his scene where there was a scene where he goes just wah wah in the background, and it's hilarious. It's just the saddest thing. You're like, that was the funniest thing he did in the movie because it's so subtle for me. No, but him ripping out Kano wins, ripping out the heart, and you're like, cool, nice. That's nice. I appreciate that. But yeah, definitely good on the callbacks there. And Kano's a very fun part of the movie. He's him and the ways they use Sub Zero and utilize him. Like he's just a menace. My man is just showing up and up to this no good. Doesn't even say nothing. Just shows up. Shit gets cold. He like, damn. All right, I felt that man. It's just cold, and he just leaves. But as he's going on, doing his thing, I just wonder what Raiden's doing. I think that's one thing I would change if I had to book this movie. If I was the booker, right? I'd be like, how about you have Raiden go around finding everybody instead of Sonya? Would have made more sense because he can be anywhere, Just you can teleport. Just have him pull up, like, yo, bro, we need you for this. You got the tattoo. This tournament's coming up. Because guy could have been like on the scene doing stuff about that. Because Cole didn't have to take all those L's. Cole, he had my man out there. My man would not have been out there fighting for $200. Got a wife and kid at home. And would not have had to be doing that. Selling his body to the streets, basically. Physically. Like, nah, bro, you don't have to do this no more, man. Just come defend the earth. I got you. You could have stopped that from the beginning. Or at least made him less sorry. Because he was getting tossed a few times, man. He didn't have to go out like that. He could have stepped in, handled the training, But Raiden just in there to just be stern. I mean, you're just like, man. The other one, the '95 one, they do Raiden better. Raiden's like, he's actually like there. He's saying some stuff. For this Raiden, he's not about it. He's like, yeah, we need you, but you got to train yourself. So he doesn't do anything really. I like Raiden too. Raiden's one of the characters I play, especially in Trilogy. I liked Raiden. That's the only fatality I knew in Trilogy. It goes down, back punch, 2. So down, and he just uppercuts it, and your whole body just explodes. And I'm like, that's the only one. And he also had the little flying tackle. There he goes again. That's just great. He doesn't do any of that in there, unfortunately. They force it in Annihilation, but it's just like this is terrible. It's terrible. Maybe it's one of those better in video games thing, but also it just did not work. But it also kind of did. I appreciated the try. They tried the good old college effort. Like they tried to put it in. It was just terrible green screen. terrible green screen. But this movie, he just doesn't really do a lot. He looks cool, but if they had him like instead of having the opening scroll, just have him explain like this is the 10th tournament and we've already lost 9, which basically shows that Raiden's a really bad coach if he's the one organizing these fighters. Because they just pull up every tournament. Somebody like coaxes them there and invites them. And obviously Raiden does his whole spiel. And he's failed 9 times leading up to this. Like, damn, bro. maybe elder God. You should pick a different profession after a while. But a man Ted's got tenure, so he can't be bounced out, I guess. But yeah, I wish he was doing more. That'd have been nice. But definitely like the cast members. They were good. They got a lot of pieces here. So if there's any sequels, I'll definitely be on board. Definitely, definitely got a lot to go from. I hope they use the tournament, like for real this time. Like the last one had the tournament vibe to it. This one doesn't really until like the end. And you have Cole give his stupid little hero speech, and you're like, all right, sit down, man. You just went home like 2 hours ago. That's not all happened in a day. My man gets sent home and then comes back and is all heroic and stoic. You're like, man. And they have the montage. Like, you could have the training montage where they really train and then force the tournament or something like that. That would have been cool or something. I don't know. But then they fight and it's just like, that's over, you know? Jack's got his comeuppance. My man was getting hoed. My man got hoed by a sub in the beginning. You're like, damn. And he's like, I did 6 tours, motherfucker. And like, no, Sub-Zero, if you look at him, like, I don't even know what that is. What does that even mean? What does that mean? Tours of what? France, my guy? Like, nah. Like, it's some serious dude. Like, he means it, but you're also just like, my dude's just sitting there like, what does that even mean, bro? And yeah, he took away his hands. It was bad. I mean, the chicken drums. He had the little T-Rex look. You're like, man, we like look like that underneath all the muscles because you got to really build those muscles. But underneath all the muscles you have in life, you really just have this little skeleton, and that's what he had. He had the little. It was like looking at a duckling, You have the little just looking at how wings are without the feathers, and you're like, they're so small. That's what it kind of looked like. But I like Jackson this. He did more than the one in the first in the '95 one. He's only in that one for like 5 seconds when they're in the club, and then you never see him again. She says his name, and then that's it. That's just no more. He got his screen time, and he was out. But he got his check. Good for him. Then one in the Annihilation, he was all right. He was okay. I like the gauntlets look. Would have been cool. I like that they went with the ripping his arms off because he does get his arms ripped off anyway. That's how he ends up with those arms in the first place. He gets some ripped off by I think it's Motaro. Yeah, Motaro in two. They get ripped off. So just wish like, damn, that's that technology they got in the temple way out where. Like, where'd they get this metal? And they just got these little arms on this guy. And you're like, man, whew, where'd they even get that from? That's what I want to know. That's crazy. They couldn't put give him some sleeves or something. But that was his like power, I guess, was making strong arms. So I wonder, like, is it all the time, or does when he's like powered down, does he go back to those regular little arms when he's not fighting anybody? That'd be hilarious. Got the chicken wings. Just, I don't know why that's funny to me. Whatever. But yeah, it's an interesting power to have. But he's in there. He looks good. So I look forward to hopefully the same actor comes back. Hopefully this whole cast comes back for the next movie if there is one. All right, because the mix-up would not do it any justice. Would not do it any justice if they mix it up. Just like the last one, you have that bad green screen effect. But you have these characters you don't even know. You're like, who is this guy? Who is this woman? Who are these people that's in this movie? I know Lou, but who are the rest of you? And I like Peter Chow. He did a good job in the last one. I wonder what he's doing. He was really good as Liu Kang. I liked his Liu Kang better than this one because Liu Kang has a little more character in it. So I hope this other one does get his choice. But yeah, I give that movie a 2 out of 5.